Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we are going to be checking out the Masters of the Universe new Eternia Beast Man figure from the Masterverse series. That is right, my friends. It is another figure in the brand new Eternia subsection of the Masterverse toy line. This is the one that I think I was the most excited about just because I really loved the look of this guy. So I'm excited to dive in and check him out. Now, this one is a deluxe figure in the Masterverse line, so you might notice that the box is a wider box, although it is a bit smaller than the other deluxe figures we've seen in the line that have been in longer boxes than this. So I don't know if this is like a new entry, like a not quite the same as the deluxe figures, or if they've just sized the boxes down, which is probably a good idea, seeing as how like King Grayskull and Faker and some of those larger boxes are really taking up a lot of shelf space at many stores. It also appears to be a Target exclusive, as that is where this guy is trickling right now. So comes in the same style box otherwise. I mentioned it's a little bit bigger, but it does still have the Masterverse logo up there on the top. This one does include the 40th anniversary of Masters of the Universe sticker on the window, which is something I didn't see on the other new Eternia figures that we took a look at. And then rotating the box around to the side, as well as the back, gives us some beautiful artwork from longtime MOTU artist Nate Barch. He did an incredible job here. And as you can see, we've got some really neat new things going on here. Like there's a Beast Woman back here, which is pretty cool. Not something we've really seen before. You can also see the cross-sell down here, showing the other figures in this wave, which includes He-Man and Skeletor from the Netflix animated series. Very much looking forward to those in Masterverse. And then we've also got a new Eternia version of Zodak and the Filmation-inspired Catra. So pretty great assortment of figures in this particular wave of Masterverse figures. So why don't we go ahead and get this guy pulled out of the box, and we will get a closer look at him. Alright, so we have got our new Eternia Beast Man outside of the packaging. I do have him a bit hunched over here, but if I bring in the tape measure, you can see this guy's huge, standing at about 7.5 inches tall. I mean, he's about a full head taller than folks like Skeletor in this line. This is a beastly Beast Man action figure, and I really, really like that. And this look is very unique. However, it does refer back to some of the earliest designs for the character. That's kind of what this new Eternia line has been all about. Essentially, these are brand new artist interpretations of these characters that pay homage to some of the earliest pieces of artwork. Beastman here is specifically referencing this very early bear-like red beast design by Mark Taylor. And you can really see that specifically in the harness that he's wearing. The armor looks identical to what we saw in that original artwork, and also he's got sort of like this bear-like scalp sitting on top of his head as a hood. So this is paying direct homage to some of those original pieces of artwork, and this Beastman one here is fantastic. I love seeing the reference to that old red beast design. Now, one of the things they did with that is they gave him like this actual faux fur, so he's all fluffy and everything, but you can see it's supposed to be like a pelt that he's wearing, almost like maybe he killed that actual red beast that we see in that original piece of artwork. Really interesting concept, but I think it's a really neat way to kind of mesh together that early design with the Beastman that we know and love. And there's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Now, as far as I can tell, this is all a brand new figure. He is quite a bit bigger than the Revelation Beastman, which I'll show you here a little bit later. But we've got some other new things going on here as well. Like you can see, he's got some added spiked armor pieces on his arms, on the forearm on both sides there. And those are removable, so you can pop those off if you want to. The bear-like hood that he's wearing, like the pelt that's supposed to be on the top of his head, that's removable. You can pop that right off. Now, that just kind of sits there on his head. It doesn't clip on or lock in place or anything like that. So you will find times when you're like posing his head around that it does kind of, flop around a little bit on top of his head. It is not bad, though. And obviously, if we're just standing him and we're posing him, it stays pretty good. Now, if I tip him, it's gonna just fall right off his head. It doesn't actually clip on. But yes, underneath that, it does reveal just a standard looking Beastman head. So, he's got the blue furry trunks, just like we see on the vintage toy. However, it does have this added piece on the front. It does have a bit of a Revelation feel to it there. And you can see the armor that he's wearing is very big on his shins. I think that is really cool. And it does appear to be separate as well. It's just attached like all of the armor bits that we would typically see on these figures. I actually really love the texture detail on these. They have a very leather-like look to them, which is very cool. There's another great detail over here I want to show you guys. If you have ever paid a close enough attention, you'll notice that on your vintage Beastman figure, there was this molded sort of like spiked bracelet thing, or like this knuckle duster kind of thing that he's wearing. And I really like that they incorporated this as an actual sculpted piece. You can see he's got this metal wrist bracer with these 3 spikes jutting off of it. So that is a really, really nice touch and a great nod to the sculpt work on the vintage action figure. I think that is very, very cool. So articulation-wise on this guy, let's talk about it with this on, and then we can remove this, and I can show you how it looks underneath this as well. But he does still have that standard ball joint at the head, so it can look all around. He's got a bit of a hunched back, so his head is leaning forward just a little bit, but it does still articulate the way you would expect it to. You got the ball-like joints at the shoulders, so they can swivel, they can go up, down, forwards, backwards. We do have the double joints. We got a bicep cut too, but we have double joints at the elbows. I will say that there are some poses where you can see the cuts for that do look a little awkward, really kind of breaks up the anatomy a little bit. I think part of that is attributed to the fact that he does seem to have longer ape-like arms, and that double joint at the elbow, I don't know, it just really, you can see how skinny it gets around the elbow. So some of the poses, they do look a little weird to me, but that does allow for a good range of motion. You got swivel at the wrist, you got a hinge joint at the wrist, you got the ball joint at the torso there, so you can roll the body all the way around. We can also swivel back and forth at the waist there. You got the ball joints there at the thighs, so the legs can go outwards, forwards, backwards. Swivel at the thigh cut, double joints in the knees, which are very, very tight. You do still have the boot cut articulation there, and then the ankles can move forwards and backwards, as well as rock side to side. So the articulation's very good on this guy. And since he's got that hunched over body, I really like that, because you can get that really good, like, beastly hunched over look for Beastman. That specifically, I always remember loving about the 2002 design, the 2000X era, and that really does kind of seem to come through in this version of Beastman here. Some interesting things about like the armor that he's wearing. Like, first of all, on the back, he does have like a little holster here. Now, he does come with 2 weapons. So we've got this new spiked club weapon, and then we've also got a classic Beastman whip. Real quick, I want to show you that the club doesn't really fit in this holster, and neither does the actual handle of the whip, but the like handguard plugs in there. So I'm just gonna assume that's what it's for, but I'm not entirely sure, and I don't really love that because that just seems a little impractical, but it is what it is. So yes, we got a couple different options for display. We got these couple different weapons here. This spiked club is very cool. It's got a really nice mold to it where it looks like a wooden bat with spikes sticking out of it. It is a bit pliable at the handle. Typically with spiked things like this, with a company like Mattel, it's a safety thing, and that's why they make it softer. However, I will say some of these spikes are actually pretty spiny. It was kind of shocking. But I think this club here is really great for this new Eternia look, right? Like kind of this savage Beastman. I know we typically see him with a whip, but I like this as an accessory, and it definitely works really well with this particular look right here. But one of the things that's been really, really great about the new Eternia figures is if you don't necessarily love this new look that's sort of like an homage to the concept stuff, they do have a standard look as well that is much more in line with the way you recognize the character. So we can switch Beastman to that. We're going to remove, obviously, the hood that he's wearing there. If we pop the head off the ball joint, we unsnap this armor in the back, we can actually pull this armor right off of the body. You can see that the fur is attached to this armor here. So this is all a solid piece here. It's not removable. That is actually like glued to the armor. But that's pretty cool. Look at that. We got our red beast look right there. One of the things I want to talk about very, very quickly before we get on to the rest of his look is I want to show you guys the actual body, what it looks like underneath that fur. One of the things about this that stands out to me that isn't my favorite is the black wash that's going on here. It's a little out of control. First of all, his torso looks like a completely different color orange than his limbs and his face, and I think it's because of the way that the wash is done there. He's almost got this very grayed look to it. But then you can see on his arms, the fur looks like a brighter orange, but it still has way too much black wash going on there. I do love the painted fingernails, but lots of black wash, so he looks very, very dirty. However, his face looks clean. Now, there is a little bit of black wash in there, but it looks like the cleanest part of his whole body, so it really, really stands out. I think Mattel needed to tone that down a bit. I understand that they were probably going for a dirty and a gritty look, but I don't know, it doesn't look great on this, to be perfectly honest. Now, luckily, most of these armor pieces cover it up pretty good. You can see that one of the armor pieces that is included is something that is much more akin to his original armor, his vintage armor. And you can see this just kind of clips on his back just like that. It actually doesn't clip in too solid, just kind of like hangs on that little hook right there. But that actually looks really nice. We can plug the Beastman head back on. And then the other thing I would recommend doing is removing these extra arm pieces that they kind of created for this figure here, because the original Beastman look, he didn't have those. Now, you can leave them on if you want to. I'm removing them because I think this gives him a much more standard Beastman look, and then we can give him the whip there, which does appear to be a brand new mold. I love that it almost looks kind of like a dragon's head or something up here. It's like a metallic blue, and then we've got a little cord there that's very similar to the vintage, and now we have a much more standard Beastman look, and I love this. I mean, this is kind of the thing that I loved about New Eternia Skeletor and New Eternia He-Man, is that we're sort of getting like these brand new versions of the characters that look like the characters. Like, they didn't change anything too drastically. This just looks like a really nice modern Beastman, and I think that is pretty cool. And if you pair him up with your standardized version of the New Eternia Skeletor, I mean, come on, that is a pretty great looking little roster right there that we're building out of these sort of new interpretations of their classic looks. I think that's the thing I love the most about these new Eternia figures, is you've really got some great options for display that almost makes two entirely different action figures. So one thing I think I should also quickly mention is that he does also come with interchangeable hands. Right now I've got like a gripping hand on the left and this open hand on the right. You do also have a gripping hand over here and a closed fist. And just like I showed you while I was removing the armor, it's very easy just to kind of swap those on and off however you see fit, which will also help with the changing up of your displays. All right, guys, it's comparison time. So we talked about the Revelation Beastman, which is also part of the same Masterverse line. And I wanted to start there because I want to show you guys how much bigger and beefier this new Beastman is when compared to the one that came before him. I was actually pretty surprised by that because I just assumed that they would probably be reusing some of the basic body pieces. But man, he's pretty big compared to that other version. And I want to go ahead and stand him alongside the Masters of the Universe Classics Beastman and the Filmation version that was in the Classics line as well, just to show you all of them standing side by side, because these are all 7-inch scale figures, and you kind of see three very different looking Beastman figures that are all cool in their own right. So there you go, my friends. That is a look at the new Eternia Beastman figure. I really like this guy. I think my biggest nitpick with this is the overdone black wash. I don't like that as much as I'd like to like it, but I don't. I think it's a little overdone, but I love the display options with this guy. I get the same feeling from this that I did the other new Eternia figures. I love that they're doing something new while also paying homage to those early designs. The Red Beast influences here are very, very cool, but also you can get a very great looking standard Beastman, and I think that's incredible. It's a great way to kind of build out your classic Masters of the Universe roster here in the Masterverse toy line. So I hope they keep these going, because I think these are my favorite things in Masterverse so far. I have to give a very special thanks to my buddy Toy Bro, who found this Beastman for me at his Target since mine has not yet been stocking them. Go check him out if you're not already watching him on YouTube. And keep your eyes peeled, guys, because these are rolling into Target stores right now. Thank you so very much for watching, and until next time.